Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to the second episode of the Brighter Soul podcast, where we lean into topics on growth, compassion, and truth. My name is Claudia Wright, and my vision is to raise the consciousness of this beautiful planet that we live on. And my aim to do that is by helping you raise your vibes and your consciousness. And my aim is for you to live a happy, healthy, and spiritually rich life. And I want to start this podcast by just getting into the zone. So if you can take a moment and just pause for a couple of deep breaths with me, and then we can anchor ourselves into the now. So if we breathe in for 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 3, and hold for 3. And breathe in for 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 3, and hold for 3. That feels pretty good. So today's topic is a bit of a tough one, and we're talking about judgment. Yes, that thing we all do but seldom admit to. And I've been sitting on this one for a bit of a while because, if I'm honest, I find myself judging too. So it's both a personal exploration and an invitation for us to both learn from this podcast. So let's start with why we judge. Let's start thinking. Let's look at the science behind why we judge. Our brains are actually wired to judge. It's like a leftover survival mechanism. Back in the day, we had to instantly decide, is this person safe or dangerous? Are they a friend or a foe? And the amygdala, sometimes referred to as the lizard brain, that's a part of the brain that reacts fast, does this snap judgment in just seconds, and then the rest of the brain jumps in and adds labels. Oh, they look like this, they sound like this. Psychologists call it cognitive bias. It's kept our ancestors alive, but in today's world, that split-second judgment can really keep us from real connection. So, the illusion of judgment. What judgment does to us, we have to really think about this, right? The problem is that the snap judgment will build a wall around us. When we decide someone's like this or not like us, or even less than us, we stop being curious, we stop listening, we don't see their full story, their pain, their journey, and the reasons behind who they are and what they do and the things that they say. And it cuts off the connection that we have. And I'm going to be really honest, it doesn't just hurt them, it hurts us too. Because we stay stuck in these tiny little boxes instead of experience the richness of people and cultures and, different types of people to who we are. And then if I look at this from a bit of a spiritual perspective, judgment is like looking at somebody through a tiny keyhole. You're only seeing this really tiny piece of them, not their full soul, And every tradition that I've studied over the years says the same thing in different words. Everyone is sacred, we're all spiritual people having a physical experience. And when we judge, we're judging a fragment or an outer layer, but not their fuller essence. And that's why many spiritual traditions invite us to just pause and be curious, not certain about something, just be curious. When we judge, it's like glancing at the cover of a book and thinking we know the whole story. You know what they say, never judge a book by its cover. But the real depth and twists and lessons and beauty behind somebody are inside the pages that we never choose to open because we put a judgment on that person or those people. So, what can we do instead? We're not going to switch off judgment completely because it's kind of deeply wired in us, but we can soften it. And here, what helps me. First, I just try to notice when it's happening, and I just say to myself, oh my God, stop judging, Claude. You're judging right now, so perhaps you should take a pause. Then I just pause and take a deep breath and ask, what might I be missing about this person's story? And then I finally remind myself that they're human just like me, and they're still growing just like me. And that little shift opens my heart. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them or excuse them for bad behavior. It just means you're choosing compassion over walls, and that's really important. And so why does it matter? For you and for me in the world, So when we loosen judgment, we invite connection. And this is across race, class, immigration status, politics, beliefs. We invite healing, and we remember we're all walking our own path and carrying our own stories. And when we judge someone else, what we're often really doing is holding up a mirror to ourselves. The things that irritate or trigger us in others. usually reflect the very parts we struggle to accept within our own lives. If I find myself saying they're too lazy or they're too arrogant, deep down it might be touching on my own fears of not doing enough or my discomfort with showing confidence. And judgment in that way is less about them and more about what we haven't made peace with inside ourselves. And just let that sink in for a little bit, because a lot of the times when we judge others, it's something within ourselves that we know we need to fix as well. So here's my invitation to help you potentially move away from judgment a bit more. So for the next few days, when you find yourself judging about anyone else or anything, just pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself they're just human, carrying their own story like you are. Let your heart guide you how to remember our shared humanity. I'm walking this path with you. And if you feel your heart soften a bit towards yourself or someone else that you've previously judged, share that moment with you. Drop a comment or reach out. You're part of this collective healing. So my invitation for you is simple. I just wanted to reach out and let you know that we're all the same. We're all spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're one, we really are all connected. So when you judge somebody else, you're judging yourself. I hope you found this useful. Please subscribe, if you want more content like this. And I'll see you in the next podcast. Ciao.